Hi, everyone, and this is going to be an introduction to applied behavior analysis for the EDG 650 course. So, an introduction to who I am. My name is Susan Wheeler. I graduated from U of L in December 2023 with my degree in early elementary education, Gen Ed K through 5, and learning behaviors and disorders K through 12. While I was at U of L, I worked in a residential facility at St. Joseph's Children's Home, and after I graduated, I worked at Carroll County Schools as a third grade special education teacher. And this school year, I am working as a 6th through 8th grade special education teacher at Westport Middle School. So, who are you? What is your current understanding of ABA? Can you describe what you know about reinforcement and how it's used in educational settings? Have you heard of or used reinforcement or punishment strategies in your work? If you have, can you describe them? Yeah, that's reinforcement. That's perfect. So, what is ABA? ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. ABA focuses on using positive reinforcement to modify behaviors that are considered disruptive or negative or just out of the norm. So, what is behavior? There are two terms of behavior that we use. Operant behavior refers to behavior predetermined by the history of its consequences, like laughing at a joke. You laugh at a joke because of its history of something being funny, or like baking a pie, you learn how to bake a pie the correct way, and you learn based off of whether it was a good pie or a bad pie. There's also respondent behavior. Respondent behavior refers to behavior that is an automatic reflex to stimuli. An example of that would be crying when you're in pain or when your stomach's hurting, you automatically go to hold your stomach, or if you stub your toe, you hold your toe. It's just an automatic reflex and you don't think about it. So, with ABA, we try our best to use positive reinforcement before we go to punishment. Positive reinforcement is adding a stimulus to increase a behavior. An example of positive reinforcement is a student that struggles with talking out of turn raises their hand to answer a question. The teacher gives the student a sticker since they raised their hand. The stimulus that was added was the sticker to reward the behavior of the student raising their hand. This is to hopefully increase the behavior of the student raising their hand. So this is kind of like what you were talking about with your star chart. So a non-example would be a student that struggles with talking out of turn raises their hand to answer a question. The teacher takes away the student's homework as a reward for raising their hand. This is not a positive reinforcement because we're taking away the stimulus. The stimulus that we're taking away is taking away the homework. Positive reinforcement is adding something to increase the behavior. So, what's the difference between reinforcement and a bribe? Reinforcement occurs after the desired behavior occurs, and it's a long term solution. It's a proactive strategy to help manage behavior. Whereas a bribe occurs before the desired behavior, it's a short term solution, and it's a reactive strategy to behavior. A lot of times when I think of a bribe, I think of a student acting out and a teacher just quickly being like, oh my goodness, please just stop and I'll give you a Jolly Rancher if you'll just stop and you'll listen. That's only reactive, it's not proactive. Whereas reinforcement is something like a star chart where the student earns stars to hopefully increase the behavior over time. So, why should we use positive reinforcement? Positive reinforcement offers a long term solution and modifies a student's behaviors to set them up for success not only at school but at home and adulthood. Eventually, the stimulus is not needed and the desired behavior occurs naturally. There's also punishment with ABA, but we try and use all reinforcement strategies before doing punishment. Positive punishment is adding a stimulus to decrease a behavior. Negative punishment is removing a stimulus to decrease a behavior. An example of punishment would be a student talks out of turn while the teacher is teaching. The teacher gives the student an additional homework assignment for talking out of turn. This is positive punishment because the teacher is providing an additional stimulus to decrease a behavior. They're getting extra homework for talking out of turn to hopefully decrease the behavior of the student talking out of turn. A non-example would be a student talks out of turn while the teacher is teaching. The teacher says, "Please stop calling out and I will give you a Jolly Rancher, just stop." This is just a bribe. And like I said before, bribes don't work and they're more of a reactive measure than a proactive measure. So, ethical considerations to consider with ABA. In ABA, we focus on reinforcement over punishment. We want to focus on the positives that the student is doing. Reinforcement strategies must be tried before going to punishment strategies. So, like I said, we really want to focus on what the student is doing right and making sure we're trying all things possible before going to punishment. So, some key differences between punishment and reinforcement. Punishment, the goal is to decrease a behavior, whereas reinforcement, the goal is to increase a behavior. We really want to use reinforcement over punishment. We want to notice the positive behaviors that the student's doing. So here's a scenario. Oliver's mom asked him to clean up his toys. Oliver started to scream and say, "I am not going to pick up my toys." Oliver got spanked by his mom for screaming and telling her no. So the stimulus that was added was Oliver received a spanking due to him screaming and saying, "I am not going to pick up my toys." This would be an example of positive punishment because we're hoping to decrease the behavior of Oliver screaming and saying, "I'm not going to pick up my toys." So this one we're going to do together. The scenario is Keegan asked Johnny to clean up his area. Johnny followed directions the first time. Keegan rewarded Johnny with a treasure box for being a good listener. What was the stimulus that Johnny was given? Yeah, he received a prize from the treasure box. So that was the stimulus that was added, and it was to increase the behavior of Johnny being a good listener. So this would be an example of positive reinforcement. So this one I want you to try just to see what your understanding of it is now. The scenario is Charlotte was frustrated at Penelope for taking her toys. Charlotte asked her teacher for a break instead of hitting Penelope. Charlotte was rewarded with a piece of candy for asking for a break and using safe hands. What was the stimulus that was provided to Charlotte? So would this be reinforcement or punishment? Yes. So in conclusion, positive reinforcement is what the goal is in ABA. Reinforcement focuses on the desired behaviors and rewarding the desired behaviors. In ABA, we provide the reinforcement so that way eventually the behavior will occur naturally. Do you have any questions or comments? Okay. Thank you.